Brown.
Light it off? No, no, no. I hadn't touched it. Just sit down. Council members, please take your seats. Council members, please take your seats. Sergeant Adams, please call our meeting to order. Thank you. Today, our chaplain of the day is Evangelist Latrice Ryan of Latrice Ryan Ministries, and she's invited by one and only Councilwoman Jamita Swearingen.
Father, we thank you and we bless you for this day. We thank you for this great city. We thank you, God, that your hand is upon this city. We thank you, Father, in the name of Jesus, that your hand is upon every leadership, all the tiers of leadership. God, we ask that you would come in the room, that you would guide us, that you would protect us, that you would lead us, you would give us wisdom. Father, we ask that you lead us by integrity, by honesty, by clarity of thought. We ask, God, that you would have your way in this meeting, God. Cover every leader, cover, God, the police officers, God, cover every general board member. Father, cover from the board members all the way down to the janitors. We ask, oh God, that you will lead and guide us, protect us. In Jesus' name, it is so. Amen and amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Councilwoman Swearingen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Be it hereby known that Evangelist Latrice Ryan, in recognition of a life of exemplary qualities, outstanding service to the city, meritorious involvement in humanitarian affairs, and demonstrated concern for governmental processes, has been appointed Chaplain of the Day of the Memphis City Council, and is hereby entitled to all of the honors, rights, privileges, and prerogatives appertaining to the office and to the display of this certificate under the seal this 23rd day of January 2018, signed by our Chairman, Berlin Boyd, and presented by Councilwoman Jamita Swearingen. We thank you so much for blessing us with that wonderful prayer, and hopefully you will accept this token of appreciation from the Memphis City Council. Thank you. Get you in.
Thank you, Councilwoman Swearingen. Madam Comptroller, please call the roll.
Council members Brown, Covette, Conrad, Ford, Fullylove, Hedgepeth, Jones, Morgan, Morrison, Robinson, Spinoza, Swearingen, Chairman Boyd.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller. Any one of my colleagues read previous meeting minutes? Thank you, Councilman Ford.
Mr. Chairman, I have read the minutes of the previous meeting, and after looking at them, I find them completely in order. I'd like to move their adoption, and I actually see Councilman Covette in the queue, so I yield.
All right, Councilman Covette, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like items 23 and 24, which I believe are the MLG&W gas and MLG&W electric rates, be pulled from these minutes and sent to committee, MLG&W committee in 2 weeks.
All right, without objection, Councilman Covette would like to pull items 23 and 24 from our minutes. Seeing no one in the queue objecting to that, that item will be pulled from our minutes. And that has been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Morrison. As amended, please cast your votes for our previous meeting minutes.
Covette, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Brown, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. All right. Again, we want to welcome you guys to our January 23rd council meeting. If you guys care to speak on any item, please see our Sergeant at Arms, grab a card, fill that card out, turn the card in before the item in which you care to speak in. Please write legibly so I can understand your handwriting. I will then call you up prior to the item in which we are discussing. Also, just to elaborate on something that just happened in our minutes, my colleague, Vice Chairman Frank Covette, he was on the prevailing side of the item, the MLGW item, and he requested to pull both gas and electric from our minutes. Both those items failed at our last council meeting, so therefore being on the prevailing side, he voted no. He had the right to pull that item. He's sending it back to committee, which the council has an opportunity to revisit both those rate increases and recommendations from MLGW. So that item will be brought back up in committee within 2 weeks. Moving on, I have items that are being held from this council agenda. Is item number 3, it's withdrawn. Items number 13 and items number 11 will be held for 2 weeks. That's item number 11 and item number 13 will be held for 2 weeks. And again, I do apologize from the sound. I sound like I'm in a can, but we've been working on getting these microphones fixed. So with that, Madam Comptroller, please call item number 1. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 1.
Item number 1 is a resolution honoring Journey Pruitt for her entrepreneurship and positive contributions to her community. This resolution is sponsored by Councilwoman Swearingen.
Councilwoman Swearingen.
Councilman Frank Corbett, would you please join me on this resolution? I'm asking Councilman Corbett to please join me because he's the one that brought my attention to this future millionaire.
Absolutely.
Upside down. Whereas the Memphis City Council takes pleasure in recognizing Journey D. Pruitt for her contribution to her community and youth empowerment. And whereas born in Memphis on June 16, 2000, Ms. Pruitt yearned to help promote self-confidence and encourage reading amongst peers. And whereas at the age of 16, Ms. Pruitt noticed the lack of interest many African-American teens had in reading and issues rooted in not realizing the true value of their culture. And whereas Ms. Pruitt created a monthly subscription box known as Black Butterfly Beautiful that features books written by African-American authors, highlights successful African-American influencers, and includes items from local Black-owned businesses. And whereas her business started with only 12 subscriptions in June of 2017 and has increased to more than 150 monthly subscriptions today. Ms. Pruitt will soon celebrate the 1-year anniversary of Black Beautiful Butterfly, and whereas upon graduating with honors from Power Central High School, Ms. Pruitt will continue to pursue her passion of entrepreneurship and will pursue a double major in education and interior design with a minor in gender and race studies. And whereas Ms. Pruitt is currently a fellow in the Bridge Builders Change Program, a spring 2008 finalist of Light Memphis, and has accumulated more than 2,000 volunteer hours within the city. And whereas she has been highlighted in publications, including Huffington Post, the Memphis Business Journal, News One, Black America Web, and named the Human of the Week by the D.L. Hewley Talk Show. And now, therefore, be it resolved that Journey D. Pruitt be acknowledged for her accomplishments and relentless efforts encouraging African-American teens to read and embody self-confidence through Black Butterfly Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you our future millionaire from the city of Memphis, Mrs. Journey Pruitt, given by my hand and the great seal of Memphis, Jimmy the Swearingen. Would you like to say a word?
Come on. All in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, I see none. The vote passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Chairman, if you don't mind, she has a couple of words she'd like to share.
I came up with Black Butterfly Beautiful when my little brother was born, and he didn't enjoy reading that much, but he enjoyed things such as video games, playing sports, the typical things. So to help encourage him read, I created Black Butterfly Beautiful for not only him, but other kids to also start enjoying to read and to help build self-esteem. Thank you for the award.
Madam Comptroller, please call item number 2.
Item number 2 is a resolution congratulating Jerry Collins on his retirement and recognizing him for 10 years of service and leadership to Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. This resolution is sponsored by Councilwoman Robinson.
Councilwoman Robinson.
Good afternoon. It's not often in life you get to cheer one of your colleagues on. Jerry had an opportunity to cheer me on when I retired in 2012. So now I have that same opportunity this afternoon. The Memphis City Council resolution states, whereas the Memphis City Council always welcome the opportunity to acknowledge events in the lives and careers of those for the excellence of their endeavors. And whereas on January 30th, 2018, Memphis Light, Gas, and Water will bid farewell and a happy retirement to its 10th president and chief executive officer, Jerry Collins, after 10 dedicated years of service. And whereas a native Memphian, Jerry previously served as Director of Public Works for the City of Memphis and is a registered professional engineer in the state of Tennessee. And whereas no stranger to honors and accolades, Jerry has actively participated and served on such stellar boards as Vice President of the Tennessee chapter of the American Public Works Association, President of the Kentucky-Tennessee Water Pollution Control Association, Board of Directors for the International Water Environment Federation, and is currently chairman of the board for United Way of the Mid-South. And whereas in 2002, Jerry was elected to the Kentucky-Tennessee Water Environment Association Hall of Fame. And whereas a former outstanding alumnus of the University of Memphis, Herff College of Engineering, Jerry received a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering in 1975 and a Master of Science in Civil Engineering in 1976. And whereas in 2011, Jerry received the Herff Honor Award for Distinguished Service in Engineering by the University of Memphis, which recognizes engineers whose professional and or personal achievements have brought honor and distinction to the college and who have made significant contributions to the engineering profession. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Memphis City Council hereby applauds Jerry Collins for his significant leadership as President and CEO of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, and conveys to him congratulations, best wishes, as he takes or partakes of the pleasures traditionally associated with the golden years of retirement, signed by the Memphis City Council members, along with our chairman, Burley and Board. I so move.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Robinson, seconded by Councilman Morrison. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That item passes. Congratulations.
Chairman, if I may,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank Councilwoman Robinson for being a great friend and a great friend of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. I just want to express my gratitude for having the opportunity to serve the public for the last 10 years at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water, and for working with the dedicated, hardworking employees that number close to 2,600. And I got to mention also that the people that work at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water now are carrying on a tradition that was established by the people that came before us, many of whom sit in this audience today, and I want to thank them for the firm foundation for which we do all our work at Memphis Light, Gas, and Water. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Do you know what's going on with my mic, Frank? Who? They're working on it. Don't touch my mic, please. I will control it. Thank you. Yes, sir, Ms. Ford.
Just some housekeeping. Since Councilman Covett has reconsidered those two items, I'm assuming in 2 weeks, two things. One, we would have to go back to being a rate-making board, one. And then two, we would have to look at, I'm looking at the agenda, wouldn't we also need to hold item 15, which is approving the 2018 MLGW budget as well?
That is correct.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to go ahead and hold for 2 weeks, item number 15 for the purposes of us considering the other two items, which happen to be the gas and the electric, in 2 weeks as a rate-making board in conjunction with this budget. Without objection.
Without objection. All right, that item will be held for 2 weeks, and we will send it back to committee along with items 23 and 24. All right, Madam Comptroller, please call item number 4, please.
Item number 4 is a resolution approving a mixed-use apartments, senior housing, townhouses, and single-family plan development located on the north side of Raleigh-LaGrange near western termini of Trinity Road and Fisher Steel Road, containing plus or minus 71.15 acres in the heavy industrial and floodway district. This resolution is sponsored by the Office of Planning and Development. The case number is PD 17-21.
Councilman Colvett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 4, PD 17-21. Is our applicant present?
Yes.
May I have your name and address for the record, please?
Bob Dalhoff, Dalhoff Thomas Design Studio, 6465 North Quail Hall Road, Memphis.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen of the audience, item number 4, case PD 17-21. Is there any opposition? 17-21, this is also called the Raleigh-LaGrange case. Any opposition? Seeing none, Mr. Chairman, this case was heard upstairs in committee. It did receive a favorable recommendation. We do have staff on hand should any of the members wish a presentation, but with that, I so move it to the floor.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Colvett, seconded by Councilman Morrison. Seeing no council members in the queue, please cast your votes for item number 4.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 20.
Item number 20, appointments. Chief Financial Officer, Shirley Ford. Memphis Light, Gas, and Water President and Chief Executive Officer, Jarl J.T. Young.
Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met, recommends approval with same night minutes, and I so move, but My screen is locked on a brightness mode, and I can't do it electronically.
Okay, so, Mr. Brown, can you get in the queue, sir? No, sir. I'll just recognize you, Mr. Brown. Hold on. Let me just do this. I'll come to you. 1 second. I see you now, sir. It's been moved by Councilman Morgan, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Mr. Brown, you're recognized.
Well, thank you, Chairman. My thing is,
Can't hear you, Mr. Brown. Can you get in the mic?
traditionally, I was trying to, why couldn't we separate the two?
Make the motion to separate.
That's the next motion?
Just
That's the
divide the
motion.
question, sir.
Okay, that's it. That's the motion.
So
Separate.
Mr. Brown has a motion to divide the question. It's been moved by Councilman Brown, seconded by Councilman Ford. Without objection? All right, so we will divide the question. So one will be special item 1 and the other one would be item 20. So Madam Comptroller, you determine which one will be which. All right, so we're on item number 20, which is the appointment of Ms. Ford. So, seeing no other council members in the queue, please cast your votes for item number 20.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call special item number 1.
Number 1 is the appointment of Jarl J.T. Young, Executive Officer of Memphis Light, Gas, and Water Division. Motion by, second by Spinoza.
Yeah, it's been moved by Councilman Morgan, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Mr. Jones, you are in the queue, sir. Please don't show the voting screen.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Councilman
thank you,
Jones.
Mr. Chairman. The original motion was to approve both with same-night minutes. The motion that was made to approve, does that one contain same-night minutes? Just ask for clarification.
Let's go to the Chair of Personnel, which is Councilman Morgan. Councilman Morgan, are they requesting same-night minutes on both?
Correct.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
mine would be an objection to same-night minutes, although I will be voting in favor of Mr. Young. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to visit with Ms. Ford on a one-on-one basis, and I think that the purpose of our holding her appointment 2 weeks ago was to give her an opportunity to meet with the council persons individually. I found that to be a very helpful meeting, and I would I would ask that we not approve same-night minutes to allow that same opportunity for Mr. Young. Otherwise, I strongly support his candidacy. I had a chance to meet with him just briefly at the reception, but for a person who's going to have the responsibility that Mr. Young has, for us to just meet him yesterday and then to have same-night minutes without the convenience or the luxury of meeting with the council persons individually, that would be my objection. But I want to reemphasize that I approve. If I could vote twice for him, I would. It's just a matter of having an opportunity to meet with the individual council persons.
Okay. Without objection, I see Councilman Colbert in the queue. All right. Councilman Colbert, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you. Colleagues, I agree. I'd vote for him twice if I could. I've had a chance to meet with JT. I think he's very qualified, if not maybe even overqualified. But part of the reason I asked to have those items pulled and put to committee in 2 weeks, well, I know you're going to hit the ground running, is I would like to go same-night minutes because I would like to discuss these gas and electric rates with you as the head of MLG&W. So I would urge my colleagues, I respectfully disagree, I'd like to approve him tonight. We're going to find out what you're made of quickly, my friend.
Thank you, Councilman Colbert. Councilwoman Robinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to encourage my colleagues to please approve this tonight so that we can move forward with our HR responsibilities and duties. Remember that he's having to travel here. He doesn't currently work for us yet, and we just need to be sensitive to that as well. I had an opportunity to not only go to the reception, we've had an opportunity to have a meeting on yesterday, and I had the privilege of being a part of the interviewing process. I believe that he will do a great job for not just MLGW, but for all the ratepayers in the city of Memphis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Robinson. Councilman Brown, you're recognized, sir.
Basically, thank you, Chairman Board. Both of these candidates are truly qualified. There's no need to hold off on their appointments tonight, and we need to vote them in. The minutes should be read tonight, and they should be approved tonight. Now, I don't know who's thinking this way, but you got to be careful, because what you're doing, there's been Women's March all over the United States of America, and this don't look right. But I'm just saying, both of these candidates are equally got good expert skills, and they're qualified. But the thing is, why are we holding them? I don't know. But to me, that's totally out of order. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. Let me just say this, and I do respect all of my colleagues' comments, and I do respect yours as well, Councilman Jones. I think it's incumbent upon the administration not to think that this body is a rubber stamp body, and not to expect this body to approve someone after we've only had a chance to meet them within 10 minutes. Doesn't work that way. I know, comfortably for me. I don't do that. But I will say this, I met him, nice guy, I approve of him, vote for him 3 times if I had to. However, I'm just saying to you guys, Doug, got to do a better job communicating and at least letting us know what's coming up. Don't expect the last minute we approve something. I'm just saying. Thank you, sir. All right, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and vote on, I see Morgan in the queue. Councilman Morgan,
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to echo exactly what you said, in complete agreement. And as I guess new chairman of the Personnel Committee, I have a meeting with Alan Crone tomorrow to discuss exactly that and setting up a process, because really we haven't done one of the big chief appointments or major appointments since the beginning. So I think it's just setting a process, setting a timeline, and we have to set the expectations between us and the administration on this. And Mr. and Mrs. Young certainly don't need to be collateral damage or anything like that of a miscommunication between us and the administration. I support same-night minutes, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Morgan. All right, so we will go and vote on special item number 1. That's the appointment. That's for Mr. Young. Please cast your votes for special item number 1. This is to approve. Same-night minutes will be a separate vote. So please cast your votes for special item 1.
Brown, yes. Colvette, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please create special item number 2, which will be for same-night minutes for special item number 1.
I'm prepared, sir.
Can I get someone to move that item, please? Mr. Jones, will you move it? You're the maker of that motion for same-night minutes. All right. And okay, it's been moved by Councilman Jones, seconded by Councilman Colvette. Council members, please cast your votes for same-night minutes. A yes vote, we'll approve them for same-night minutes. No vote, will not approve for same-night minutes.
Brown, yes. Colvette, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, no. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Madam Comptroller, please call just call the fiscal consent, please.
Item number 21 on our add-ons is a resolution seeking acceptance of a donation in the amount of $1,000 from ExxonMobil Corporation awarded to the City of Memphis Police Department for operational expenses. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. Item number 22 is a resolution accepting grant funds in the amount of $25,000 from the 100 Club of Memphis for equipment. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. Item number 23 is a resolution accepting 2 license plate readers compatible with existing MPD equipment to be installed in the Yorkshire neighborhood, who will obtain the equipment and donate to the MPD through the Memphis Shelby County Law Enforcement Foundation. The cumulative total value of the donation is $12,275. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. Item number 24 is a resolution approving the transfer of $90,444 from CIP project number PK18100 Park Services Cover Line, Fixtures, Furnishings, and Equipment to CIP project number PK18102 Roselle Ansdale Park Improvements. Contract construction for Roselle Ansdale Park Improvements. CIP project number PK18102, and to approve and accept the base bid of $273,939 with alternates 1 and 2 with contingency for a total of $315,444 from Barnes and Brower Contractors for CIP project number PK18102. This resolution is sponsored by Parks and Neighborhoods Division. Item number 25 is a resolution accepting, allocating, and appropriating funding in the amount of $38,451.50 for the Memphis Public Library and Information Center's Link 211 to be used for professional fees, grants, and awards from the United Way of Metropolitan Nashville. This resolution is sponsored by Library Services. And item number 26 is a resolution for a grant in the total amount of $300,000 from the City of Memphis Public Works Division in the amount of $150,000 each to Lifeline to Success and Freedom from Unnecessary Negatives 501c3 organizations for the Clean Pathways Initiative. This resolution is sponsored by the Public Works Division. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our fiscal consent agenda items.
Thank you. This item has been moved by Councilman Morrison, seconded by Councilman Ford. Seeing no one in the queue, council members, please cast your votes for our fiscal consent agenda.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call consent agenda.
On our consent agenda, item number 5 is up for second reading. Ordinance number 5678 is sponsored by Councilman Hedgepeth. Item number 6 is up for second reading. Ordinance number 5679 is sponsored by Councilman Conrad. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes our consent agenda items.
All right, that item's been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Hedgepeth. Seeing no one in the queue, please cast your votes for our consent agenda.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
Please show Councilman Ford voting yes. That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call MLGW fiscal consent.
Item number 7 is a resolution awarding change number 5 to contract number 11727, external corrosion direct assessment, inspection of natural gas pipeline with Mears Group Incorporated. in the funded amount of $189,700. Item number 8 is a resolution approving change number 3 to contract number 11678, Risk Master Replacement with Legal Files Software Incorporated in the funded amount of $3,524. And item number 9 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Logicalis Inc. for storage area network expansion in the amount of $2,554,063. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our MLGW fiscal consent items.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller.
You're welcome, Mr.
This
Chairman.
item's been moved by Councilwoman Robinson, seconded by Councilman Morrison. Seeing no council members in the queue, cast your votes for MLGW fiscal consent.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 10.
Item number 10 on our regular agenda is appointments to the Civilian Law Enforcement Review Board, Hazel Moore. Memphis and Shelby County Board of Equalization, Bill Boyd. Civil Service Commission reappointments, John Horn, Brandon Ingram, Edward Vaughn, Gloria Thomas, Natalie McKinney.
Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee met, recommends approval, and I so move.
It's been moved by Councilman Morgan, seconded by Councilman Ford. I will come to you, Councilman Jones. I do have a card on item number 10 as well. Councilman Jones, you're recognized, sir.
Well, no, I'll wait on the card, Mr. Chairman, after the card.
Okay. All right. I have one card. I have Ms. Susan Jackson. Ms. Jackson, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. After that, your 2 minutes will start.
Good afternoon, council members and community. I'm Suzanne Jackson, 4194 Fillsdale, 38111. I really came today primarily for the memorial for Shalae Thompson. I looked over the agenda of the council and noticed that a Bill Boyd was nominated for the Board of Equalization. And so I have a question as to whether that's the Bill Boyd who was a former council member and assessor. And if it's yes, I have a comment.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so my comment, I had done political cartoons a long time ago for the Tri-State Defender, and one I did was about Bill Boyd when he was assessor because he supported and pushed a desirability rating which frankly discriminated. It was stopped, but he was supporting and advocating for it. So while he might serve well on other committees, I would at least raise the question as to whether he's the best person to put on a Board of Equalization. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It was, Ms. Jackson brought that to my attention if it were any other board, but this is the Board of Equalization, and as she talked about, this was something that probably predated a number of us, well, definitely predated everybody on this council when this assertion was made. So I was going to ask, I missed personnel committee meeting last week, so I didn't have a chance to ask this question of Mr. Boyd. You know, oftentimes we receive candidates for appointments and we don't have any, we know that he served as a council, but if I would like for Mr. Boyd to be able to, if that was the case, defend his name to see if that was the case. So if appropriate, I'd like to send this individual nomination back to committee.
Okay. Is that without objection? Let's see. Okay, Councilman Morgan, he's in the queue, so I recognize Councilman Morgan. Councilman Morgan.
I was just going to make the motion to divide the question and then hold Bill Boyd's appointment for 2 weeks.
Well, what we've done, since it was without objection, we're going to send Mr. Boyd back up to committee in 2 weeks, and we're just going to call item number 10 as is, just removing Mr. Boyd. So we'll call item number 10. Council members, please vote for item number 10 as amended.
yes. Colbert, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Councilman Jones, are you back in the queue? All right, yes, sir. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 12.
Item number 12 is an ordinance amending ordinance number 4828, Chapter 4, Code of Ordinances, City of Memphis, so as to allow an exception for open containers on Main Street. Up for third and final reading, ordinance number 5673 is sponsored by Councilman Jones. It was held from January 9th.
Councilman Jones.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This past weekend, colleagues, I ran into Tina Sullivan, who is the executive director of the Overton Park Conservancy, and I told her that the Memphis City Council probably has received more emails about this open container issue than we did when we were discussing the Greens Ward. It wasn't only the sheer volume of emails that surprised me per se, but it also was a seemingly newfound concern from so many that live outside the city limits of Memphis and do not pay city taxes. Colleagues, I intentionally included or responded reply all as an option, so not only I would notice how much of the opposition came from non-Memphians, but you would as well. Some respondents noticed that they attend Grizzlies games and patronize various businesses downtown, and therefore they have a say-so. Yes, everyone has a right to express their opinions, but I shop at J. Crew, I shop at the Apple Store in Germantown, and I've attended events at the Lander Center in South Haven. But that doesn't translate to my being able to dictate what's in the best interest of Germantown or South Haven. I couldn't help but ask myself, Ms. Robinson, where was all this concern from Memphis when we've had Tennessee House and Senate members who represent Shelby County, but not Memphis, work against Memphis at the state level? They are elected officials, elected by many of those who expressed concern about what was being proposed in Memphis. In 2012, there was an opportunity for those who live outside of Memphis to have a say-so in the direction of Memphis when we were talking about consolidating Memphis and Shelby County government. That consolidation would not have included Bartlett, Collierville, Lakeland, Millington, Germantown, and Arlington, but an overwhelming majority of those outside of Memphis voted against it. That very next year, those same municipalities fought tooth and nail to establish their own municipal school districts, thanks to the efforts of those state House and state Senate members who represent those areas of Shelby County outside of Memphis. What the Legacy Shelby County School Board tried to do in creating a special school district would have caused more harm than any open container ordinance the Memphis City Council would pass. Where was the similar concern for Memphis then? I can't help but to reflect on all of this when our sister city, Nashville, a city that I called home from 1993 to 1999, was chosen as one of the finalists for Amazon's second headquarters. Nashville has been the capital since 1843. Their higher education institutions such as Vanderbilt, Tennessee State, Meharry, Fisk, David Lipscomb, and Belmont, they've always been there. And at one point, when I was on the Memphis City School Board, before there was an ASD, Nashville's entire school district was on the verge of state takeover. So those supposed advantages that Nashville had over Memphis has always been there. It is my opinion that those state senators and state House reps that those outside of Memphis elect were fighting against Memphis. When they were doing that, the Nashville-Davidson County delegation was working on one accord to move that city forward. So I asked, let's take this moment as an opportunity for us to engage in dialogue as Shelby Countyans, because so goes Memphis, so goes where you live. We can't have healthy suburbs when the so many in the suburbs depend upon for their employment opportunities and entertainment opportunities isn't healthy itself. So I implore you to engage those elected officials that you elect and report to you and show the same fervor and concern for Memphis when they are taking up measures in Nashville that are not in Memphis' best interests. With all that being said, I want to say first and foremost, I wish there were more issues that the citizens could express their opinions to their local, state, and federal officials. I truly enjoyed the level of engagement that this subject produced, even if it wasn't in support of the ordinance that I proposed. We could have voted on this issue 2 weeks ago, but I wanted to hear from supporters and those in opposition, and that's why I requested to have an opportunity to hear from various downtown and City of Memphis stakeholders, as we did January 11th. In closing, do I think that passing this ordinance will create many of the ills that have been professed? No, I don't. But at the end of the day, we listen. And because we listen, colleagues, I would like to pull this item from consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. With that being said, the maker of this ordinance has withdrawn it. So therefore, open container is null and void. I don't know if the speakers still would like to speak. Two of our speakers don't want to speak. So I have a Reverend Archie Kelly. I will give you courtesy, sir, if you still want to speak, but this item is withdrawn, so I don't know if you still want to say something. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Madam Comptroller, please. The card wasn't turned in time. Have to turn it in prior to the item being called, Ms. Catron. That's our council rule. Thank you much. Yes, ma'am. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 14.
Item number 14 is a referendum ordinance relative to the charter of the City of Memphis, same being Chapter 11 of the Acts of 1879 as amended, and relative to the amendments thereto pursuant to the provisions of Article 11, Chapter 9 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee, Home Rule Amendment, to provide for the qualifications for election of persons for the office of mayor or to the office of the Memphis City Council and establish term of office for persons elected mayor or to the Memphis City Council. Up for third and final reading, ordinance number 5676 is sponsored by Councilwoman Fully Love and Swearingen, Councilman Morrison, Boyd, Covette, Conrad, Hedgepeth, Jones, and Spinoza. This was held from January 9th.
Councilman Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to move for the substitute ordinance that everyone has in their hands with the edits and clarification of the language, that this just extends to 3 terms, does not eliminate term limits, does not restart the clock. It just...
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Morrison. I'm just getting you to move it. This item's been moved by Councilman Morrison, seconded by Councilman Hedgepeth. Okay, continue, Mr. Morrison.
I need it moved with the substitute ordinance. So
Yes, sir.
move with the substitute ordinance, please, sir.
Yes, sir, it is. Here's the substitute ordinance, colleagues. You have it before you. I don't see anyone objecting to the substitute ordinance. Okay, it's accepted. Councilman Morrison, you want to say anything else?
No, Mr. Chairman, the executive committee met, recommended approval, and I move.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Morrison. Again, that item been moved by Councilman Morrison, seconded by Councilman Hedgepeth. I don't have any colleagues in the queue. I do have some cards on this item. I have Theron C. Bond, Sylvia Cox, Samuel Toon, and Janice Mundy. In that order, please. Please state your name and address for the record, and your 2 minutes will begin at the end of you saying your address.
Theron C. Bond, 681 West Rains Road, Memphis, Tennessee, 38109. The clock is ticking. It's almost here. The time for a council election year. Suited and booted, dressed to the nines, polished candidates doing just fine. Barbecues, debates, and yard signs galore for a short period of time, then they are no more. Where did they go? What are they doing now? Is this who's representing me? Why, since, when, and how? Out of sight, out of mind, it seems. The needs of people leaving with the voting machine. The same people we elected to care are the same whose footprints are hard to see anywhere. The question you all should ask is why me? When it comes to extending from 2 to 3, what have you done lately? When have you last said hello? If you are unsure, then it's time for you to go. Why hold for 3? What can get accomplished in 1? Staying true to your platform would have gotten that done. Extending your terms would assume we are pleased. Indeed, we are fed up, is what I believe. So prepare yourselves and exit gracefully. Make room for new faces we the people deserve to see.
Sylvia Cox, Samuel Toon, Janice Mundy, please come in that order, please.
Sylvia Cox, 1688 Sterling Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119. I am here again about these considerations of reversing 2008 charter amendments that were voted by the people. On December 5th, you approved an ordinance for November 18th referendum item to reverse instant runoff voting that was overwhelmingly approved by the citizens in 2008. You did this in spite of the large number of citizens who addressed you and provided to you many valid reasons for keeping and implementing IRV and asked you to not approve that referendum item. Now you're about to approve a referendum item to overrule another 2008 charter change to modify the term limits of city council and mayor from 2 terms to 3. One of your stated reasons is that 2 terms are not enough for a council member to be effective because it takes the entire first term to learn the job responsibilities. That is erroneous. If it takes anyone 4 years to learn how to perform their job properly, then they are not qualified or competent enough to hold that job. Even the President of the United States gets only 2 terms of office, and you rarely hear any of them complaining that 2 terms is not enough to learn and do their job. By attempting to convince Memphians to reverse their votes from 2008, this council is showing a complete lack of respect for the citizens they are supposed to represent. You are devaluing the votes of citizens and taking away their voice because you are forcing them to go through you for everything they believe needs to be addressed, and you are undermining the citizens' ability, as allowed by law, to directly request and approve city charter changes. What is the point of the citizens being able to exercise their rights and their voice for a charter commission and charter review when the city council will just find a way to undo that process? As a former member of the 2008 Charter Commission, I am asking you yet again to please stop attacking the will of the citizens of Memphis and leave intact those 2008 charter changes that were requested by and already approved by the citizens of Memphis. Thank you.
Thank you. Samuel Toon, reading this card, I believe, Mr. Toon, you probably have the wrong item number, but if you're here, you have in support of MLGW budget approval, so I believe you wrote the wrong item number on your card. Janice Mundy.
Janice Mundy, 2509 Dexter Avenue. I also am in agreement with everyone that is spoken on this issue. I personally am objecting to this. I'm a resident of the North Memphis community over off of Hollywood Street, and I think it's very distasteful and disgraceful to think that this city council should be allowed to extend their terms from 2 to 3. When we called your office, Councilman Board, because you represent our district, District 7, you told us that you had no knowledge of what Memphis Light, Gas, and Water was doing in our community. Mr. Brown, when I called your office, while you have seen me on the news doing the interviews objecting to what MLG&W is doing to our community, even though you were aware of that, you never did come to our community to offer your help or to assistance to ask us how we address that. When I spoke to Ms. Fullylove about it in late December, she said she knew nothing about what MLG&W was doing to our area, destroying our area, even though they had been buying these properties now for over 9 months. I think it's just really shows your lack of qualification
the fact that you don't need to be in this position, especially when it's the city of Memphis, the city council, that has to approve anything that MLG&W spend above $50,000. They came to our neighborhood, has purchased 130 lots. They had bulldozed down livable homes. And then for you guys to give them that approval or to say that you had no knowledge of it shows you that you're incompetent and you do not allow, that you should not be in your position. I think it's disgraceful. Why I'm happy to see Mr. Collins go. I respect him as a human being, and I respectfully tell him goodbye. For a person who have a six-figure salary to come to a poor neighborhood and to take the homes of retired and seniors who home values that's somewhere between 20, 30, 40,000, and he makes a six-figure salary and don't blink an eye of taking the homes that someone has lived in 30 and 40 and 50 years shows again the incompetence of this city leadership, and to say by no means should you be allowed to get a third term. And I'm hoping to join the two ladies behind me, and if we have to start campaigning in earnest this very day, that when this ballot hits again to the polls, that we make sure we get the voters out to reject you again, that you uphold the vote that the people voted in 2008 that limited you to 2 terms, 4 years, because you have done enough destruction to this city and should not be allowed to destroy this city anymore.
First and foremost, let me say I've never said one time that I was unaware of anything that was going on in District 7 in North Memphis. I held several town hall meetings pertaining to the issue of MLGW. Also, I will say this body, this council body, does not approve as it pertains to any action that MLGW does as it pertains to expanding any location. So therefore, if I want to go into the real reason as to why you're upset about your particular property after I did research on your home that your mother left to your son and found out all the background information about that item, I don't want to display and disclose that publicly. So there's always a story to the story. And so I just wanted to share that with you, and you will not be coming back up here speaking. Sergeant at Arms, please handle that, sir. Councilman Ford.
Mr. Brown is before me.
Mr. Brown.
Ms. Mundy. Hello?
Order, please. Mr. Brown. Sergeant at Arms, please.
Mundy. Miss Mundy. Miss Mundy.
I'm not going back and forth. Mr. Brown, you have the floor, sir.
Miss Mundy, my administrative assistant, Miss Garcia, made contact with you. You supposed to have brought paperwork to me in reference to the people who lost their homes over there. Now, Miss Garcia she was supposed to make contact with you. I got the information that you sent up there, and I requested that you send me an email as well. I got that, and my thing is, I told you that we are looking into the situation over in that area, where that the Memphis Light, Gas, and Water came in and confiscated, lied to the citizens in that area that they were going to create, they're going to have eminent domain over the people's property in that area, and that was wrong. It's in the hopper for you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it still was going to come up. Let me just tell you something. It has to go through the process. My thing is, I told the attorney for the council basically what was going on in that area. The thing is, the presentation has to be presented. And presented, why is the MLG&W Board of Commissioners doing the things that they do to the people over in Hyde Park? It's wrong. I already know from a legal stance that it's illegal. I know it's illegal. They told the people in that area that they can take your property by eminent domain. Now, my understanding is that there is an attorney who's working on the case. And if that's not real, I think you told me about one law firm. But at the same time, is Ms. Garcia will get with you. Ms. Garcia is getting with you on the matter. The matter still has to be looked at by the general counsel of the council. to make sure. It's not frivolous. They were wrong. What the Memphis Light, Gas, and Water and this board and Mr. Collins did to citizens in that area is totally wrong. They lied to you. They took your property under false pretenses. Now, you remember what you said, I'm going to come down and bring this paperwork to your office. And you sent it to me. I said that. And my administrative assistant has it. The thing is, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to file challenge against the Memphis Light, Gas, and Water for what they did. Now, did you or did you not tell me that y'all had a legal counsel on board?
Mr. Brown, you're running out of time.
Okay.
Sir.
Well, let me just say this. We'll get with you tomorrow. Ms. Garcia will get back with you. And I want all the information that you told me about. Every piece of, I want some of that evidence, and I want the names of the people who lost their homes over there. That's what I need. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. And Mr. Ford. Ma'am, I've already spoken. I'm not speaking to you. Mr. Ford. Sergeant at Arms, please escort her out of this chamber. I stated facts, ma'am. Councilman Ford, you recognize.
Mr. Chair, I'll be quick. I know we had a lot of co-sponsors. Mr. Morrison, I am going to support you. The reason I'm not a co-sponsor is because I'm running for something else. And I know that the people voted on this, but people have changed their minds regarding residency, regarding elected officials. If it was up to me, I would say, as I've said at plenty town hall meetings and things of that nature, the term limit should be whether you get the majority of the vote or not. We've had council members that have been replaced because other people have come in and beaten them. We've had school board members. We've had aldermen in other cities that border us. So if I could just get rid of it, I would. But at the same time, I see what you're trying to do. In fact, I'm going to simply say this. Everybody that's up here, regardless of opinion, none of you should apologize for winning your race. Let me say that one more time. None of you who have run your races should apologize for winning your race because others lost their races. I tell my people in District 6 all day, the day that you don't want me, I will go to the house, I will work at the funeral home where the people don't talk back. However, in 1991 and 95 and 99 and 07 and 15, there's one individual that didn't see that. And it's interesting that 2 weeks ago, there was a quote by a particular individual talking about if you haven't figured it out by now. Well, you know what? That person didn't figure it out in 91 or 95 or 99 or 07 or 15. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. You fight again another day. You become a better candidate. You try to beat the incumbent. You win, congratulations, you move on. Instead of being angry at the people that are up here. And I just simply say this, like there's 7 people in the race that I'm running in right now. Find 25 people, get $100, campaign, get in the race, enough of the talk, do the action. Because I know that I'm not going to apologize for my 72% in 15, my 64% in 11, my runoff where I won by 195 votes in 07. And I don't think any of you who worked hard should apologize for you winning your race. And I call the question.
Thank you. You call the question.
Oh, well, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Jones, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this. As a matter of fact, Mr. Morrison, had you not brought this, I would have brought this. If we look at any other job, a full-time job, there are typically 2,000 hours that you work during any given year. We meet 24 times a year. And yes, some of the times we're here 8 hours, sometimes 12, not longer. So let's just say a typical 8-hour day. For 24 meetings, we meet 192 hours out of 2,000 hours a year. Now, when I was on the school board, I only had to focus on one area of expertise, education. Once I got to the Memphis City Council, we had to learn about public works, general services, police, fire, MLG&W, so many other aspects. But I doubt if anybody has on their job, if you're in a full-time job, 2,000 hours, that you're proficient after 1 year. So when I take 192 times 4 years, in a typical job, that's 8,000 hours that you're working in a 4-year period of time. But as council people, that's 768 hours out of 8,000. In other words, 9%, the hours that we spend here, we have to become experts in all of those areas with just 10% of the time, less than 10% of the time. And so that's the purpose for here. I still say that here we are 2 years, we completed 2 full years. I'm still on a learning curve for what it takes for this responsibility. Now, if somebody can tell me that they are a whiz kid and that you can be proficient in a job after just spending 10% of your time in a given year on that job, more power to you, but I'm not one of those people. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Madam Comptroller, please show the voting screen. Council members, please cast your votes for item number 14.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, no. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 16.
Item number 16 is a resolution approving the transfer of $373,000 from CIP project number PK18100, Park Services Cover Line, to CIP project number PK18103, Park Improvements, and approval of plans and specifications for park improvements, CIP project number PK18103. This resolution is sponsored by Parks and Neighborhoods Division.
Councilwoman Swearingen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item was discussed in the Parks and Environmental Committee. It received a favorable recommendation, and I so move.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Swearingen, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Seeing no council members in the queue, cast your votes for item number 16.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Please call item number 17.
Item number 17 is a resolution approving a lease agreement with the City of Memphis as approved by the Board of Commissioners of Memphis and Shelby County Port Commission on November 15th, 2017. This resolution is sponsored by Memphis and Shelby County Port Commission. The contract number is CR-5269.
Councilman Hedgepeth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee met, recommends approval, and I so move.
It's been moved by Councilman Hedgepeth, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Seeing no council members in the queue, cast your votes for item number 17.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Chairman Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call item number 18.
Item number 18 is a resolution restoring $350,000 funding to CIP project EN01003 Urban Art. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Morgan.
Councilman Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item was heard in executive session 2 weeks ago. Received a favorable recommendation. I so move.
It's been moved by Councilman Morgan, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Seeing no one in the queue, cast your votes for item number 18, please. Council members, please cast your votes.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Hedgepeth, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. Please call item number 19.
Item number 19 is a resolution to begin the process of de-annexation of selected areas of the city of Memphis. This resolution is sponsored by Mayor Jim Strickland, Councilman Conrad, and Councilman Covette.
Councilman Conrad.
The committee met, Mr. Chairman, recommends approval, and I so move.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Conrad, seconded by Councilman Spinoza. Councilman Brown, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Board. I noticed that this item is about de-annexation of some areas. I don't know how you can take away from your bottom line and be safe economically. Because when you decrease the bottom line by de-annexing, then that's going to be salaries and revenue that you're not going to have. Every dollar counts. So if you're going to de-annex, then you're going to give that revenue back to someone else. We're not losing anything on the issue. The areas that we annex, and that's been some years ago, we're making revenue off of it. Regardless to how much it may be, it's not going to bring what Memphis brings, but it brings in that added revenue to pay the law enforcement people, the fire, the sanitation workers, and all of the workers that work in City Hall. And if you take away from the bottom line, then you're going to have a deficit. Thank you, sir. Item number 19.
All right,
de-annexing some areas. I know it, but it's on the resolution to begin the process, but we don't need to begin the process. That's what I'm saying. We don't need to begin the process. Why would you, if you're driving around in a Cadillac Escalade, why would you want to go to a Ford Focus?
Let's speak to this.
Yeah.
Let me speak to this if I can.
Man, come on, let's get real. I've just said.
Mr. Chairman, no matter how you feel about it, this allows the process to go forward. And unfortunately, one of these areas is not a Cadillac Escalade. Right. It is not even a used Volkswagen Beetle from 1950. It is in the bottoms and has no revenue whatsoever to the city. The other one is Eads, which, you know, I think statistically has been shown that it's costing us more than we get. So, I mean, these are all things we can discuss, but this only allows it to go forward. When an ordinance comes forward to actually de-annex them, then I think we can debate the merits. And I think
but Attorney Wade, will you also elaborate on the possibility of us being proactive and just in case the state decides to bring this issue up?
Yeah, it looks like they all have track shoes on in Nashville trying to allow referendums to de-annex areas. This shows our good faith in attempting to evaluate in a diligent way. And as you know, when we annex properties, we have to go through laborious studies to determine whether we annex. The bills that are in Nashville are allowing people to de-annex without having that corresponding study as to the impact on de-annexation. Fortunately for us, we've done it right, and we've done an evaluation of all the potential areas and can give you the pluses and minuses. And so I think this is being proactive to keep this going because there are areas that we don't need. We're far-flung, and you know, if we can allow them to go back to being rural areas, they don't have the kind of densities you need. So I think this is to keep our word to Nashville that we are going forward and going to do the right thing. And if I can just, on a collateral note, just point out, if Nashville has its way and we have mass referenda for de-annexations, that could be a game changer for us. I would much rather have, as a citizen, the knowledge base that's up here now to deal with that catastrophic event than to have new people coming in that don't know even anything about a budget. So, I mean, there are a number of things that are on the horizon that mean that we have to have seasoned people to deal with it. If we lose a lot of our tax base, it's going to be very difficult, very, very difficult. And that's all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Attorney Wade. Seeing no other council members in the queue on item number 19, council members, please cast your votes.
Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Jones, no. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Robinson, yes. Spinoza, yes. Swearingen, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. All right. Same night minutes, Councilman Ford.
Mr. Chair, I have the same 9 minutes, but I see one item on there, and I need to make sure that I do this appropriately. Going back and looking at item 26 regarding the resolution for a grant, there could be a possible conflict for me, and I want to go ahead and disclose that. So what I'd like to do is, it will not change the effect of the vote, but I would like the same 9 minutes to reflect that I recuse from item number 26.
So noted, Mr. Ford.
And everything else in the same 9 minutes are in order, Mr. Chair, so I'd like to move them as amended.
All right. Is Councilman Ford, okay? It's been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Morrison, I believe it was. It disappeared. Okay. And we're voting on your special item 3 as amended. Same 9 minutes, guys, as amended.
Brown, yes. Colvett, yes. Conrad, yes. Ford, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Morrison, yes. Spinoza, yes. Chairman Boyd, yes.
That item passes. All right, we will go to comment cards. I have Michael Campbell, please come in this order. Baron, is it Corrigan Jr.? Shirley Cobbins, Pamela Campbell, in that order, please. Just state your name and address for the record. 2 minutes start after that.
Thank you. My name is Michael Campbell, 200 Jefferson, Memphis, Tennessee 38103. I'm coming on behalf of a series of 8 community stakeholders that are concerned about the Kirby closure that's taking place. I am actually coming here on behalf of a series of doctors who are assisting a retirement community that is actually on that area. The concern that they have is with that closure of that street is preventing proper medical access for ingress and egress for those in that retirement community that need assistance. The closure is a product of a development that's taking place closer down the way. There was a lack of notice that was given, that was never given to this community during that time. So the community had no way to bring this before you to allow them to know that their interest was possibly or potentially being compromised. I'm concerned because after going through the code, 503.4, there's a violation of the fire apparatus allowing certain emergency vehicles to come in and out of that area. There's also a great diminution of property that's taking place. When we start putting those closures in place, we have a dead end on one side, and on the other side of that area, we have now restricted the flow of traffic to one place. And that is causing a reduction in not only residential property, but personal property. I'm going to leave now my rest of the time for the community stakeholders who are coming up, each one, and they're coming by names with exhibits. And the closure will be taking place by my partner, Ms. Benicia Kimbrough, who also has an interest in the same.
Thank you, sir. This item is currently in litigation, and I'm going to yield to our attorney counsel before we proceed with this any further. I think this was in Judge Cowell's courtroom, so I will yield over to our legal counsel. Attorney Wade.
Members of the council, this matter is presently in litigation. Under our rules, we allow people to have general comment limited to 2 minutes. I don't think we should discriminate against these parties from having their say. They apparently are intent on putting a case on before you, but I would urge you not to have any commentary about it until after you have had until I've had an opportunity to review the complaint and to advise you on what the complaint is about and how you should proceed going forward. So if they want to make their case and do whatever they want to do, that's fine, but I would urge you not to have any comment about it until you've talked to me.
So let me get this for clarification purposes. We are on record, and I think what Attorney Wade is advising us, do not engage in conversations, asking questions, because what we say can be used against us, because we are on record, and this is an active lawsuit, and it's in litigation. Is that correct, Attorney Wade?
That's correct, and you know, I think next meeting we should probably have an attorney-client about it, and I'll brief you on the status of it. Then you can determine at that point whether you want to take any action if that's appropriate, whether you want to have discussion item in P&Z or whatever you want to do at that point.
Thank you. Councilwoman Swearingen, you're being recognized.
Yes, I have a question for Attorney Wade. Is it permissible for us to possibly return this back to the Planning and Zoning Committee in 2 weeks for the purpose of discussion?
I suggested to you that after we have attorney-client on the, what is it, 6th of February?
Yes.
At that point, you can make a friendly request to the chairman of P&Z, and I'm sure he'll accommodate you in having a discussion item if that's appropriate for us to do. I just can't tell you whether that's appropriate at this time.
Okay, so we'll revisit that after the
Yes.
attorney-client meeting.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I will address that with you after February the 6th.
Thank you, Councilwoman Swearingen. All right. Back to the cards. I will go to Byron Corian Jr., and after you, I have Homer Brannon. In that order, please state your name and address for the record. 2 minutes starts after you complete your address.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Byron Carson Jr. I'm president and principal architect of Carson Architects at 5135 Elmore Road here in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm present today as the acting architect and consultant to Feels Like Home Properties. The issue in a nutshell is that the Office of Planning and Development issued a statement of rejection on August 13th, 2015, with the objection coming from Fire Inspector Kevin Massey. And in the report of the Office of Planning and Development, Fire Marshal Massey clearly indicates a violation for this application to provide for the closing, a partial closing of Kirby Road. And Kirby Road is clearly indicated as a fire apparatus access road, which is by the approval of the International Fire Code of 2009, Chapter 5, Section 503.4. In that, it states that the Fire Prevention Bureau of the Memphis Fire Department is opposed to the closure of any road that violates the required access or impedes the first responders or delays the emergency response. It can't get any more simple than that. What has transpired is that they, within the same month of August of 2015, they received approval. and there was no exit or final issue to Fire Marshal Massey's initial objection. So
Let's
what
wrap
we
it up,
have,
sir. Your 2 minutes are up.
interruption of Kirby Road now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Homer Brannon. Mr. Brannon?
Brannon, 999 South Shady Grove. I do represent Kirby Pines. Ladies and gentlemen, this case was approved.
I need a 2-minute clock, please. Sorry, Mr. Brannon, trying to be fair to everybody. Can I get a 2-minute clock, please?
Say again, Chairman.
Sorry, Homer, I just want to be fair to everybody and make sure you had a 2-minute clock. Thank you, sir.
Okay. You got my name and address?
Yes,
okay. This case was approved in September, I believe, of 2015. We filed an application for Kirby Pines and a road closure. It went through the Office of Planning and Development. It was approved, recommended by the Office of Planning and Development, approved by the Land Use Control Board, and you, City Council, approved the plan. They have now spent hundreds of thousands of dollars pursuant to the plan that was approved by you. What the gentleman was just saying, and I'm getting off my subject a little bit, is that the fire department objected, and that is correct. They did object. But when we changed the plan in accordance with what they wanted, they sent an email to the Office of Planning and Development, which I've got in my file and I couldn't find it, but there's an email saying they have no problem with the plan now, and that's when the staff said they're for it. So that statement he made is incorrect. But we have spent thousands of dollars pursuant to this plan. It's under construction. It has been for 2 or 3 years. We have 600 residents and 350 employees at Kirby Pines. It's a wonderful thing for the city of Memphis. We strongly object to them trying to undo what you did back 3 years ago. The statute has already run. We think they're circumventing the lawsuit that they have filed. The city of Memphis is a party to that lawsuit. We're a party to that lawsuit, and the lawsuit needs to go forward, and the city council doesn't need to get in the middle of it. So we respectfully ask you to not consider this matter and let it go on to litigation, and the city will file its answer, and we'll file our answer, and then we'll be on with it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brannon. Next up, Ms. Shirley Cobbins. Ms. Cobbins? Hello.
Attorney Benicia Kimbrough, and I'm going to have my card placed instead of Shirley Cobbins' card. She's not present.
Ma'am, have you filled out a card?
Yes, you have my card there.
All right, but Ms. Cobbins has not spoken.
She has not spoken, and she is not going to speak.
All right, I tell you, and
Benicia Kimbrough.
you filled out a card.
I did. I should be card number 10.
All right, may I have your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Attorney Benicia Kimbrough. I reside at 10836 Whisper Hollow Cove, Collierville, Tennessee. I'm a proprietor and the managing partner at Feels Like Home Senior Lifestyle Residences located at 3393 Kirby Road, the adjacent property to the issue at question. Thank you, sir. I'd like to, first of all, call on the wise counsel of this newly elected city council that was not here at that time when, under the cover of lack of full disclosure, that a senior living center existed right next door to Mr. Brannon's client at Kirby Pines, there was absolutely no notice given to an adjacent property owner that has in its confines 120 seniors living who now have been relegated to living on a double-ended dead-end road. They were able to get around the notice provision because they sit on a massive amount of property. And the code only requires that notice is given to residents within a 500 radius. Well, all 500 radius feet is within their property lines and or forward to the north side of the property, which is the only safe egress and ingress point for all the other people that live in the community at Winchester Road. There was not a mailing, was not a notice. And I believe, and our position is going to be that they failed to notice as was required for a road closure. They made proper notice in accordance with the plan development. And I want to be clear, the millions of dollars of improvements that they made to create themselves a second private drive that is gated, that leads exclusively to their community, we have no objections about the millions of dollars of improvement that where they have erected a thoroughfare. We object to our having access and egress to Winchester. County has said, or the OPD said they can have both. They don't need ingress and egress where everyone else is on a dead-end street that's become a dumping ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kimbrough. Sir, Mr. Ford.
I got a quick question. How many people are in the audience regarding this Kirby Road issue? You don't have to stand up, you can just raise your hand. And keeping those hands up, how many of these individuals that got their hands up are asking for this change to happen? I don't see any hands that went down. Okay. I just want to get an idea. Okay. I know we got a lot of cards. I'm assuming that the cards are all saying the same thing. That's why I asked that question. It's up to you, Mr. Chair, if you want to go ahead and go through. It looks like that we got a significant amount of individuals here that want to express themselves. So, all right.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. Next up, and thank y'all for coming out, spending time, taking time out of your day. Next up is Katie Raines. And after that will be Susan Jackson and Taylor Cook. Have your name and address for the record, please.
Yep, Katie Raines, 1945 Felix Avenue, 38104.
2 minutes.
I came downtown today attending the gathering for Shillay Thompson, who passed away unsheltered on a bench in front of City Hall. There are countless ways in which we can improve our homeless service delivery system in Memphis. This is not the forum for nuance and reasoning, and I recognize that. But this week I realized in our city, barber shops have more oversight than homeless shelters. And I think that's a problem. And I think that that's something the city council could probably help with. Sorry. Along with that, HCD funnels $2.2 million in HUD federal funding. And I just want to ask y'all respectfully to do a thorough evaluation of those grantees. Maybe there can be some reallocation, and along with evaluation, looking at their program eligibility requirements and making sure they're serving people who are experiencing homelessness and evaluating them for effectiveness, how many people they're placing in a permanent housing. There are plenty of resources available and some that are needed, but let's start with making sure that the city's resources are used well, and that'd be a good start. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Raines. Ms. Brooke, let's see if we can't get with Ms. Raines and maybe get some answers for her questions on HCD, please. Thank you. Ms. Jackson, you are up.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Cook, you're on deck.
Suzanne Jackson, 4194 Fillsdale, 38111. I sent each of you an email November 21st of 2017 and hadn't heard from you. Sent a copy to the mayor. I think it's outrageous for the city to have the temerity to try to appropriate the statement, "I am a man," used by sanitation workers in AFSCME to underscore the importance of basic respect economic equity, fair and decent working conditions, and sincere political support. The city has not consistently respected the sanitation workers and their families, or any of its other employees, or its unions over the 50 years since Dr. King was killed. The city has failed to support quality public education for the families of our union workers, other employees, and family members. The city has failed to provide preschool care for 3 and 4-year-olds. It's failed to provide venture capital and enough contracts and other support for Black-owned businesses, and has failed to create a far less regressive tax structure. The city's failed to deal with the root causes of alleged crimes, and it's not built a beloved community. We failed to deal with our deep racial and economic divides, our high poverty rate, the highest urban poverty in the nation. The city's failed to end mass incarceration, also one of the highest in the world. We're not yet ready to call ourselves I Am Memphis. Collectively and publicly, we've not yet acknowledged our issues, past and present, our systemic racism, our systemic classism, and too much more that we have the power to change. Whenever we decide to change and to explore and implement real solutions to create a wonderful Memphis. So I hope you will reconsider that and let us lead forward to become the great community we could be. But let's not have the temerity to appropriate I am a man. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. You have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question for those who are here representing Kirby Road and Winchester. Councilman Ford asked how many were opposed to that street closure. My question is, how many of you all received notification of the street being barricaded or closed prior to it transpiring? Could you raise your hand so I can see all of those? If you knew about the closure, prior to the street being barricaded and gated, please raise your hand. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
May I respond to the notice? Just 10 seconds.
All right, we'll continue.
Take the proper notice.
We'll let the appropriate judicial questions get answered first. And then I'm going to go out of order for the cards I received. I'm just try to stick strictly with the Kirby Road question. So changing the order around a little bit. Pamela Campbell, Dr. Martis, and Ernest Halbert. So Pamela Campbell is next. Dr. Martis is on deck. I'll come back to you, ma'am. I'm going to try to stay with the Kirby Parkway issue, try to bunch it all up a little bit.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Campbell, 6553 Oak Creek Cove, and I have lived in the Kirby area since 1974. That street has always been open. They did not tell us. I have 2 homes now. My mother passed last year. Have 2 homes in that area, and they did not tell us. All of a sudden, we just saw the street closed, and that was it. But they're making an entranceway from Kirby Parkway across Kirby Road. That's it. Why did they have to block the street? It's going straight into their facility. And there are other houses. It's a community. The kids can't ride their bike down the street. You can't come that way. And when my mother got sick, Kirby was boxed up. They had to come around Kirby Road to come in to get her on the ambulance. So you're closing that off. The houses there, people can't get through there. So that's not fair to us. We were not notified, and that's not fair.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. Dr. Martis, you're up. Ernest Halbert, you're on deck. Sam, I think it's Russell, you're next. But Dr. Martis, may I have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Dr. Marla Hubbard Martis. I come representing my parents who are not able to be here, William and Elma Martis. Their address is 3393 Kirby Road, apartment number 138. They are residents of Feels Like Home, senior lifestyle residences, and I came with props because I need you to see who I'm talking about. I am a family medicine physician who has practiced medicine here in my hometown for 23 years. However, I come here today in a capacity as a physician and a daughter representing my parents, who are two retired educators. They have given their working years to not only Memphis City Schools, to the county, to the Memphis Urban League. My mother was director of Private Industry Council. My father also retired from the county. They are both 87 and 85. And over the years, their ability to live alone has been very complicated. As a result of me being an only child, I had to secure housing for them that was safe, and I chose Feels Like Home. It's an excellent, affordable community. To our dismay, as soon as they moved in, the closure of Kirby Road came. That was the important access to Winchester Road, because if you try to go out the other end, I, as an AARP member, have a problem going out of Split Oak to Kirby Parkway. There is no light. So you also have closed off the easy entry with the light to the community, to Winchester. That is stressful and it is unnecessary. I am also coming as a first responder. That is my job. So you have made it harder with the first response team, with the Memphis Fire Department, stating that it is not an excellent choice to decrease your emergency response. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Ernest Halbert, you're up, sir. Sam Russell, you're on deck, and Carla Stotts Hills. Mr. Halbert, may I have your name and address, please?
My name is Ernest Halbert, and I'm a retired firefighter for the city of Memphis and a veteran. As a resident of Feels Like Home, I'm concerned that the road closure will make it difficult for me, for fire and emergency services to gain access to Feels Like Home, my retirement community, and the surrounding neighborhood in an emergency. The traffic flow is very heavy, especially during rush hour, which makes it difficult to access the property from Kirby Parkway. I'm asking that you reopen Kirby Road to traffic for me and the community.
Thank you, Mr. Halbert. And I would like to confirm, Mr. Halbert, your physical address is 3393 Kirby Road. Yes? Your address is 3393 Kirby. Thank you. Just wanted to confirm. All right, Sam Rasul. Hope I pronounced that correctly. And Carla Stotts Hills, you're on deck. Sam, may I have your name and address for the record, please?
Sam Rasul, 4575 Whisper Woods Drive, Colleyville, Tennessee.
Please share.
I'm actually a manager, one of the managers on Kirby, 3393 Kirby Road. Feels Like Home. I just want to say one thing, that we've been doing a lot of renovations there, and one of the hardest things that we ran into, it's our delivery trucks. Our delivery trucks leaving Ivy Meadows and Split Oak. You could clearly see on those two boards here the traffic which came straight from the traffic Department of Transportation. On traffic on Kirby Parkway is 30,061 cars. On Winchester, it goes up to 29,681 cars. Those numbers shows the traffic that leaving, anyone want to leave Kirby Road would have a hard time leaving those two exits. So we don't have a light to access there. No light to stop the traffic except on Kirby Road. You have to leave on Kirby Road down Winchester to get to the light so you could leave safe, especially with seniors. We have 80 years old, 70 years old, 85 years old, like, they need to be safe. And with Split Oak and Ivy Meadows, I don't think that there's any safety, even if you want to make a U-turn, because the traffic. That's all. Thank you.
Did great, Mr. Russell. Thank you so much. Carla Stotts Hills, you're up. Are the remaining cards I have no cards for this Kirby Parkway issue, or Kirby issue. Am I missing somebody? Okay. Ms. Hills?
My name is Carla Stotts Hills. My address is 773 Southern Home Road, Collierville, Tennessee. I come for you on behalf of my late father, Deputy Chief Carl W. Stotts, and Director of Fire Prevention for the city of Memphis. My father would not approve this closure of the road. My aunt, Dr. Elma Martis, former president of Memphis Housing Authority, resides at Feels Like Home. We need this area to be safe for our seniors. This is a direct violation of International Fire Code to close Kirby Road at Winchester. If the authorization had been granted by this body, the agreed party, the agreed party's initial lawsuit did not name the city of Memphis. Chancellor Cowles required the plaintiffs to add the city because authorization had been granted by this body. The agreed party has already advised its attorney to dismiss the lawsuit because the proper body is here. So we are therefore asking you to reopen Kirby Road. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hills. Taylor Cook, back to you. Then we'll go Minister Yahweh on deck, Deborah Moore, and then Dennis Lynch before Walter Brody takes us out. Ms. Cook, may I have your address for the record, please?
780 North Belvedere, 38107.
Please share.
I would like to speak to you all this evening, and I beg your attention regarding the death. I beg your attention, Sarah Brown. I beg your attention for a few moments. Can I reclaim my time?
Ma'am, please share. Councilman Brown.
I would like everybody's attention. I really don't like how this happens when citizens are speaking and you speak over them. We sit very quietly while y'all are speaking. I would like to speak to you this evening regarding the death of Shelley Thompson on a bench in that plaza just outside these doors, beneath the MPD sky cameras. I'm disheartened by the lack of resources in this city for vulnerable citizens, especially Mayor Strickland's response to Shelley's death, blaming it on an alleged fit that sent her into the bitter cold that night. I speak to you as the child of parents who experienced many periods of homelessness in this city throughout my childhood and young adulthood, and as a minimum wage millennial worker who is just one misstep away, one missed paycheck, one sickness that is not covered by the health insurance that I don't have, from being one of the people who finds themselves on that bench. My mother died from lupus complications caused by prolonged exposure to the elements during her homelessness. I moved back to Memphis because I thought there was hope in my hometown. I thought I had my bachelor's degree and 3 years of professional work experience, but I found it very hard to find a job. There were several months that I lived on the couches of friends while seeking full employment. At moments, I realized I was a fit away from being on the streets. I ate meals at the First Congo Cafe. I didn't have a car to get myself to and from jobs, and I didn't have bus fare. It was a real struggle, and I would just like for everybody on this council to realize how close so many of the citizens in this city are, and I implore you to please do more. Please do more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, for coming and sharing the life of Shelley Thompson. Mr. Yahweh, still with us? There he is. Come on up. Deborah Moore, you're on deck. Dennis Lynch, I see you back there. You're number 3 in the queue.
Chairman, are you asking me to allow me to come up separate issue this?
Can I have your name and address for the record, Minister Yahweh?
Yes, Minister Sakura A. Yahweh, 838 Walker Avenue. Let me, if you would, sir, let me give you. You'll find when you get that information, an open letter to the City Council goes back April the 4th, 2016, 2 years ago. And it's telling the council at that particular time that your behavior that you're doing and what you're doing is you're buying some poison, a geotoxic, carcinogenic, neurotoxic, hazardous waste poison, slow kill, cumulative poison called fluoride. You're putting that into the water, and most people know that it's dangerous. 16 or 18 cities in the state of Tennessee have quit poisoning their citizens. So I asked the question, why you keep poisoning us? We find out also, too, that it's a very simple matter. If this stuff is no good, stop putting it in the water. My discovery and research showed this is nothing but perpetuating a lie and a fraud. Dr. Cox in 1933 came up with the solution of putting it into the drinking water based on the fact of a way to get rid of it, because Alcoa was having a problem because it was so expensive getting it out the chimney. So the doctor said put it in the drinking water. Sigmund Freud's nephew came up with the concept in order how to sell the concept psychologically and subconsciously, and we are still carrying that lie on 75 years. It's time for the lie to come to an end. You got the scientific data in front of you. You know it was a lie in the beginning. It's time to stop telling a lie, because you're causing problems with the babies, with the children, lowering the IQ. Memphis is leading the nation in sickness because of the fact of the fluoride. It's also called corrosion to the lead water lines. You see, you had EPA the other day. I do not want to have to bring a federal FDA here. We can solve this ourselves. Please, 1 second, if I may. Let's get together, especially the Memphis 7, and let's move forward and get this out the way. Historically, the Memphis 7 black city council members.
Thank you, Minister Yahweh. Deborah Moore, you're up. Dennis Lynch, you're on deck. Ms. Moore, may I have your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Deborah Moore. I reside at 3393 Kirby Road. I don't need this paper to know when my life is in danger. I have short-term memory, and when I'm driving and that road's closed, I drive up every day because I forget. I hope it's not a hole there, because you all will find me in it sooner or later. But it's just a very dangerous situation for the people that reside at Feels Like Home to go through that. You're just afraid to turn. You're just standing out there in the road hoping a car don't hit you. So I just ask you to please open the road. That's the right thing to do, and it's a good thing to do, and I hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Dennis Lynch. Mr. Lynch, could I have your name and address? We'll start your 2 minutes.
Dennis Lynch, 347 North McLean, just a block and a half away from Overton Park. But I'm not going to talk about Overton Park. Energy is an important issue. I wanted you all to know these facts and consider them when you talk to MLGW and when you listen to TVA. The cost of solar power has reduced by 85% over the last 7 years. The cost of wind energy has reduced by 67% over the last 7 years. The cost of batteries like Tesla and other large industrial battery installations has come down by 70% over the last 7 years. There's a report called the Levelized Cost of Energy Report. Lazard is the entity that produces it. Mr. Johnson from the TVA is well aware of it. He acknowledged that to me. There are a lot of opportunities for reducing the cost of energy, and we ought to be insisting, not guessing or hoping that TVA and MLGW will reduce those costs. We ought to be expecting and insisting that they do. The TVA long-range plan, Mr. Johnson told me, we've made commitments to certain products, certain technologies. They need to plan better. And like any other industry, they need to respond appropriately and not charge the citizens with the extra cost. They ought to be encouraging rooftop solar, both for individuals and for the city and for Shelby County schools. There's plenty of opportunity and a lot of money to be saved there. Also, the city should be looking at MLGW's contract with TVA. It's a 6-year contract. 100% of the energy must be purchased from TVA. That all needs to be changed. There's one last item. Many people here in Memphis know, obviously, there's many poor people in Memphis. The energy burden is calculated for families in Memphis is the worst in the entire country. We need to be addressing that. There's so many opportunities here, and I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Walter Birdie, are you here? Okay, well, I don't know that I want lightning to strike. Council, fellow members, just if I could take a minute, we've had the passing of two very special folks. If you have had the moment or the course to know a Louis Donaldson, Mr. Donaldson was almost 100 years old and was actually practicing law up until very, very recently, like within the last year. Louis was always smiling, always positive, an exceptional attorney. He goes back, I think, to the beginnings of the council. Great supporter of Memphis, great supporter of St. Jude. We're going to miss him and everything that he stood for. Proud Memphian. I hope you'll join me in a moment of silence. Second, I can't imagine as a parent to get the phone call that Ken and Lisa Roberts got just this past week when their son Jackson, who was in college, star lacrosse player at Furman. Matter of fact, I believe he was an intern here with the city at City Council just a few years ago. Jackson unfortunately passed when he was thrown from a motorcycle. I cannot imagine what Ken and Lisa are going through, and I don't know that my words could potentially help them, except to say as a fellow parent, I believe that God has a plan and that it is beyond our understanding, and that all we can do is pray for them that one day we too might understand this plan, and that Jackson, his servant, is with our Lord and Savior in paradise today. A moment of silence for Jackson Roberts. Thank you very much. There being no further business. Sir?
Can we add one?
Excuse me. Let's do it that way, Dr. Ford.
We lost a musician yesterday, and I think you all know who that is. He did Beale Street Boogaloo and Midnight in Memphis, Preston Shannon. He was 70 years old. If anybody was able to actually have a conversation with him, you all know that, hey, he loved the city, he loved Beale Street. Preston Shannon was the person that we lost yesterday, so if we could do also a moment of silence for him, and then we can move to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that we adjourn this meeting.
Council, can we please honor a moment of silence for Shalay Thompson, who lost her life, and for the folks who are struggling and experiencing the bitter cold and exposure to the elements out there, just for their safety. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no further business in front of this council, I have a motion to adjourn. And I wanted to remind everybody, remind our audience that conversation and comments have been closed, though we did have a moment of silence. There being no further business in front of the City Council, motion to adjourn. Without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you.